Curious about DeepSeek? You're about to discover why this AI powerhouse is making waves in the tech world. In the next 45 minutes, I will show you everything, from basic prompts to advanced techniques. For the full masterclass, grab the full course below. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the course. In the next lessons, we're going to learn everything you need to know about DeepSeek, what it can do, what you can use it for, and many other information that you would need to know to make the best use out of this tool that has been taking the world by storm. I'm sure you've heard about it at some point, whether on social media, on the news, but it's a really powerful tool that can be integrated into your daily lives if you know how to use it best. So if you're a beginner, this is the perfect place for you to start, because not only do we go about learning information about this tool, but I will be giving some hands-on project for us to complete together so that by the end of this course, you have some practical training on how to use DeepSeek. So first, let's talk about what DeepSeek is. For those who are not familiar with it, it is a generative AI tool, an open source model, which basically means that you get to see how it runs, take it, add some stuff to it yourself, analyze your code, and go about altering it a bit for your own. It was developed by a startup in China, so this is not US based. And the great thing about it is that it completely operates differently from the AI models that you may be familiar with, such as OpenAI or Google's AI tools, and particularly for the reason why it's based in China and they're using completely different chips, it has really shook the stock market in the United States, especially for companies like NVIDIA, where they were the top developers for generative AI chips, but now they clearly have competition. So DeepSeek is not only performing as well as their tools, the American tools, but it has surpassed in its performance at a much lower cost and with fewer chips. So that caused the demand for companies like NVIDIA to drop, as everyone is basically going to DeepSeek for their generative AI uses. So that's precisely why there's such a panic right now within these US companies. They're trying to see how they can combat this and try to coexist with the existence of this powerful tool, which is not exactly a new tool. It has existed for some years now. But the thing that really caused all these waves is their newest R1 model, which, similar to ChatGPT's O1 model, uses reasoning and thinking when it tries to answer your prompts. But of course, it has been proven to work better than ChatGPT's O1 model, and we're going to look at how it does that. So the R1 model is currently the most popular. They do have other ways of using DeepSeek, such as their regular generative AI tools where you just ask it a question and it responds. There's the web-based search, which it basically looks over different sources on the internet, collects them for you, and then answers your question. And then we have this reasoning model, which it basically shows you how it comes to its answer. So it's going to go through all the trials and errors. It goes through, let's say you ask it how the weather is in London. It's going to show you that, oh, first I'm going to go here. But wait, maybe the user wants this information, so let me add that information in my answer. And you get to see all the steps it's going through, and it's actually pretty cool. So the models such as R1, they go through something called chain of thought, as we mentioned, whether it's going through the right or wrong direction. Those are all shown to you, and you get to see all the steps that this model is going through as it's evaluating your problem. Now, because China has been under sanctions by the United States, they've used their own chips to develop this. And not only did they do that, but now they're the top free app downloaded in the United States. Previously, it was ChatGPT, which was powered by US-made chips. But now this completely international chip and tool has surpassed all these big companies. Now, in terms of what you can use this for, I would say really anything. As we said, there is a evaluation process, so any prompt that allows DeepSeek to analyze, maybe research, search, and basically go through different sources to give you an answer. You can use it for that purpose. So say you have math problems, coding problems, maybe even literature problems. These are all things that you can feed into DeepSeek. Apart from these type of problems, you can have it be kind of your assistant in managing your content, perhaps helping you with writing a job, finding interviews, writing stuff for you. And honestly, the possibilities are endless. And I'm going to go through some of the most popular usages for DeepSeek. But of course, apart from this set of problems that we're going to go over, Project Diamond, there are tons more that you can do with DeepSeek. All right, so there are two ways to use DeepSeek. The first one is on the website, which is where we are right now, deepseek.com. They also have an app, which you can see right here. So if you click on this, you can download it on your computer or on your phone on App Store and Play Store, which makes it really convenient if you need some help on the go. For this course, I'm going to focus on the website just because it's more accessible to a lot of the users, and we get to look at the latest updates. The app is probably as updated, but the first place that gets that change is the website. Okay, so before we go into actually prompting on DeepSeek, I'm going to show you a bit more about the tool itself. Maybe you have some privacy concerns, especially since you just started hearing about DeepSeek and it's not as familiar to you as, say, OpenAI was. So we're going to go over those privacy concerns and how you can combat that. There are ways that you can use it on different browsers, maybe run it locally on your computer. There are many options out there, so if you're really concerned about your data being collected, there are solutions for that. So as we scroll down the website, that's the R1 model, the reasoning that we just spoke about. We're met with the different versions and what they can do. So we have version 3 as of now, as this course comes out. This is the latest version. It's blue, and you can see how in each of these categories, so we have English, code, math, and Chinese, what kind of approach it has for this category. And we also have some numbers here. So if you're unfamiliar with the terminologies in all of these numbers, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Just stick to the latest version and you'll be fine. But if you are interested and you're familiar with all of these numbers and all these words, this is everything you need to know. They do also grant you access to the GitHub. As I mentioned, it's an open source model. So if you know how to work around all those algorithms and all that information, you can actually best utilize this tool for your purpose. So we have the different versions. As we saw, there's also ChatGPT here and Claude. We have Llama there and Quen. So you can compare it here. On the left side, we have the metrics and their benchmark. And then when you go down here, you'll see English, code, math, and Chinese. These are the different categories and the different algorithms allocated to that category. So these things in the parameters, the parentheses just tells you the type of algorithm. And if you're really interested in knowing what they exactly do, you can look them up online. EM stands for expectation maximum. We have accuracy algorithms. We have pass at once, strict prompts, and many other stuff down here. Based on this, you can really understand how your, say, code problems are being solved. Yeah, to learn more about this open source aspect, if you scroll down under research, let's go for version 3. We're directed to GitHub, and this is where we get to basically analyze this further. So right now we are on README, which tells us the general information about this model. So how to run it locally. If you want to do that, let's go up. Tells us the same information. We can go into the licensing, look at the figures, go into GitHub itself, and just work your way around this open source model. I won't get into how to use GitHub for DeepSeek. This is a completely different thing. But if you were interested, this is how you get there. The same thing applies for specific categories. So if you want to use DeepSeek for coding, just open it up and it tells you all that information. One cool thing about the coding aspect, which we'll get into in a different lesson, is that you can not only write a code, have it fix your code, test it, debug it, but you can also execute and run the code on DeepSeek. So that's one thing that's different from ChatGPT, and it's a pretty cool thing to work with. We have the same thing for math and the languages. So look at it over here. In terms of product, there's the application, there's the chat, which is where we're going to go in the following lessons. We have the platform itself, some API pricing if you want to use its open source for a program platform of your own. This is where you can look at it. You got tokens, all that stuff. So let's begin with some privacy policy readings. I know that for some of you, when you first hear about this AI tool out of China, you may be a little bit concerned. What happens to your data? Are they looking at your data and all that stuff? But I will say this right here. Any AI tool that you use on the internet is monitoring your inputs. So it doesn't matter if they're based in China, based in the US, or some other country. This is how generative AI tools get better and better their service. So don't think that just because this is a foreign generative AI tool, it's different. It's not. They all take your data and they're very clear about it. It's just that you got to read the privacy policy, terms of use, and all that other stuff. So when we go down here, information you provide, which is us, it's going to take our profile information like date of birth when applicable, username, email address, telephone, and passport. User input is what we put in the prompt box. So it's going to look at our text, audio, prompts, files, feedback, chat history, and other stuff. And then there's, of course, cookies, payment information, and other information. Then you can go down here to see how they're going to use that. So generally, they take in all that stuff that you provide just to better, let's see here, to operate, provide, develop, and improve the service, which is DeepSeek itself. If you go over OpenAI's privacy policy, it's basically the same thing. Go to Google's, Amazon, they all follow the same model. So if you're just worried about your information being collected in general, then using generative AI tools may not be the best choice for you. There are ways to combat that, such as running them locally or using it with integrating it into different platforms. But again, nothing is 100%. When you're running it locally, you do have to account for the amount of hardware you need to run it locally. So there's always ups and downs that you gotta look into. But just before we get into the depth of the course, this is something you need to be mindful of. So be sure to read this. These are some important stuff that you need to know. You can also look at the terms of use, how we get to use DeepSeek. Of course, there's some general stuff such as no hateful, offensive language, what we can put as input and output, and other information. So I'm not going to go over each of these as I'm not a legal expert, but if you're concerned, as I mentioned, be sure to read this. But a general format is to not include or provide any sort of input that is private. So nothing about your address, payment information, even names and stuff. Try to avoid doing that because you never know what could happen. And there we go. So those are some information you need to know. And now that we've learned about the website, the models, and all that privacy concerns, let's first learn how to use DeepSeek on other platforms and how to run it locally on our computer before going into using the website itself. I'm here on perplexity.ai, which is another platform and chat box that you can use it for finding solutions, trying to solve complex problems, similar to ChatGPT and DeepSeek. But one cool thing about this is that you can use Perplexity and incorporate DeepSeek into its algorithm, so kind of like a collaboration between the two. Perplexity is a whole tool on its own. I won't get into every single details about it, just how you can combine DeepSeek with it. And then it also has an app if you're interested. But when you're writing your prompt, I'm currently on the free account, you can go down here and look at the R1 reasoning model that we looked at in a previous lesson. So right now we can go with either Auto, Pro, which is Perplexity's Pro plan. So it gives you more sources and more detailed answers. R1 is DeepSeek's new model, but it's hosted in the US. So that's the only difference here. It's still, as I mentioned, like any other tool, they do take in your data. The only difference here is that instead of DeepSeek being hosted in China, this method has it hosted in the US. And then, of course, we have the OpenAI's newest model, which is also hosted in the US. So you can just click on this and it's going to get activated. And let's try looking for a prompt. So I'm going to do one just auto and type in a rather detailed question. So let's go with, what are your predictions on NVIDIA's stock prices? So something that it has to do research on and look at the different predictions on the internet. And we talked about NVIDIA in the last lesson. NVIDIA is one of the biggest manufacturers of generative AI chips in the United States. So I'm just asking it to predict its stock prices. And let's see, let's add some additional stuff. And what do you think they are going to do to rival against DeepSeek, let's say? So very specific question. I'm going to run it with the auto model first, and I'm going to have it search on the web. So while we're here, let's take a look at this. This one is similar to DeepSeek's web search. It's going to show you the sources, the links, you can go in them, analyze them. There's an academic one for scholarly research papers. Do be careful with this one because some institutions are very sensitive with any use of AI. And then there's, of course, social discussions and opinions if you want to mainly look into different Reddit posts, for example, Quora, Medium, Facebook, and all that stuff. So you can just tailor that answer and get the exact source that you're looking for. So I'm just going to go across the entire internet, so social, academic, and anything in between. And let's search. So immediately it's giving me some sources up here, and it's giving me some stuff. So I want to look at all the sources it's using. I'm going to hit show all, and there's going to be a sidebar. Now I can click on one of these if, say, I don't find Business Insider to be trustworthy. I can remove it and have it redo the search without that source. Pretty cool platform. I do recommend looking into this later. But there's my answer. So it first gives me an overview. There is the link where it got it from. The prediction, it's naming the people who are making this predictions. And then is likely to take the following actions. So we asked it to predict. It's giving us these. And then down here, it's giving us some related prompts. So say I did not get enough information as I wanted, I could click on any of these to go further into this topic. You can rewrite it, share the response, and get some searches beyond text stuff. So I could search for images, videos, and even generate images. And this is where the chat history will go. So let's rerun this prompt. Rewrite, but now I'm going to go with reasoning with R1. So that's from DeepSeek. And notice how it's going to be more detailed. So it's creating tabs as it goes. Searching for prediction on NVIDIA stock prices. If I click this, it's showing how it did that. And it took 40 sources. So that's a lot of sources. And if I want to go into exactly what it did, I could just open these. And these are the way it's reasoning through my prompt. So similar to how it was on the original platform, it's it's kind of talking to itself, and we get to see how it's operating that way. Wrapping up analysis, the sources, we get the stock prices for NVIDIA Corporation. It's going to analyze the stock. There's like forecasting too, if you're interested in that. The response, what they've been doing, their strategy. Again, we have sources if you want to make sure that this information is accurate. Once again, we have related prompts, and because this topic is widely popular on other forms of media, it's giving us some YouTube videos. So it's figuring out exactly what type of videos we would most likely want to watch while we're doing this research, and it's going to put it up here. Now, if I search for something like, what's the best photography method to capture golden hour on a hike, for example, it can show me some images, and it can also show me some tutorials. So it really depends on what you put into Perplexity for it to give you a different answer. Now, just for comparison, let's do rewrite and go with the ChatGPT's O1 model. Now you can go into here and try it with ChatGPT's O1 model, Gemini's model. There's so many other stuff. But if you're using the free version, I believe you get 2 or 3 prompts per day. But if you get the pro version, not only do you get more prompts, but it will look through more sources for you. So there's always a benefit to that. You can share this and organize your stuff right here. Okay, so that's one way that you can kind of alter that privacy concern. Just to reiterate, this simply hosts DeepSeek on US servers. That's all it does. They're still looking at your data. They're still looking for patterns. That is constant with any of these methods. So the next platform I want you guys to look at is Grok. We did mention that DeepSeek is an open source AI model. So this is one place that you can come into to alter the source codes. So that right here it's taking something from OpenAI as a client and is changing things up. So move seamlessly to Grok from other providers like OpenAI by changing 3 lines of code. So this is definitely more advanced. If you know how to work with these stuff, work with these different models, you know how to code in general, this is an option that you can do. Supposedly it is faster than Together AI, which we'll look at, and the other platforms. If you're interested to compare, you can just come over here. You can see compare to AWS. It's pretty high. And yeah, so we can start building it here. If you click on it, you can make an account and get straight into building. Any open source model, you can bring it into here and develop it further. So we can see that they are announcing DeepSeek's R1 model being available. So that's how it's going to work generally. The next platform is Llama by Meta, previously Facebook. So it's another open source AI model that you can fine tool. So it's another open source AI model. And this is, again, something more advanced if you know how to work with these stuff, how to code, how to program, create different APIs and stuff, incorporate different APIs. You can look into this. So you can incorporate DeepSeek with Llama to make your own kind of chat box situation. Again, this would be a US-based service. The next one is Together AI. Again, for AI acceleration, these platforms generally have the same format, so you're just building something by incorporating DeepSeek R1 model into there. So you can have it not censor anything. This is something I did forget to mention with DeepSeek's original website. Because it's based in China, there are certain things that you can't search, especially if it concerns the government or politics, Chinese politics. So if you want to move away from that and just have uncensored AI capabilities, this would be a good place to do it because, again, they're hosted in the US and they will not have the same concerns as they would in the People's Republic of China. So that's what this is referring to. So that's our last platform. Now, to host it locally means that you would you won't be relying on websites anymore. You're downloading something called LM Studio, which I'm just going to show you real quick. I'm going to download LM Studio and you're going to import the model on here. So this will be more dependent on your computer's hardware. Obviously, it's going to use a lot as you go with the latest models. So the one downside of this is how much your computer can take. If you have a rather slow computer or you don't have enough RAM, then using this won't be a good method. So with the LM Studio, you are essentially importing the model onto your computer. So we're not relying on websites anymore, not the internet, as we were with ChatGPT and stuff. But you're going to download this application, LM Studio. It's available for Windows and Mac. And then once you've downloaded it, it's going to look something like this, similar to the Visual Studio Code. Looks like it a little bit. But you get to load a model. So if I do DeepSeek, so if I do DeepSeek, it's going to show me 660 models. It would depend on which one you want, but one cool thing is that it's going to let you know how much it's going to load, and you can see that this is dependent on your computer. So we can offload the full GPU here. That means my computer is compatible. But when it becomes 8.10 gigabytes, it's not that compatible. So you do definitely want to look into this. As I mentioned, this is relying on your computer's hardware. So if you have a really upgraded computer, your own PC, this is a great way to do it. And then you just load that into there. I'm not going to download it, and use DeepSeek here instead of going to the website. Now with this, you're not directly providing information to DeepSeek because, as we said, it's running on your computer. You're simply loading the algorithm into LM Studio. That's all you're doing. If you're not familiar with building stuff with the open source models, this would be the best choice. It's rather simple. Just be sure that your computer can take this amount of weight. So there we go. If you have any of those privacy concerns, just go about using any of these methods that I just showed you. The LM Studio one is probably the most easiest one, especially if you don't have coding backgrounds. And this way you don't have to worry about directly feeding information into DeepSeek where you don't know how it's going to be used in detail. So now that we know what DeepSeek is, how to use different methods, benefits, pricing, etc., let's actually see how their website operates and start putting in some prompts.
Hey there! I hope you're enjoying this deep dive into DeepSeek and discovering its unique capabilities. If you're ready to take your AI skills to the next level, check out our comprehensive course in the description. You will find more than 10 lectures of advanced prompting techniques, real-world applications, and practical exercises that will help you master not just DeepSeek, but the broader world of AI language models. Now, let's continue.
Let's get started right away by clicking this button so that we can move into the actual chat box for DeepSeek. Previous to this, I made an account. It's free. You can use your Google or your email to get right in. Once you've done that, you will be brought to this page. So there's no payments that you have to do with DeepSeek, unlike ChatGPT, where if you want to use certain models, you would have to pay a fee, or there are certain tokens, a certain amount of tokens that you can use per day or per time period. With DeepSeek, it's very, as we said, cheaper. Sometimes the servers do get busy naturally as everyone's coming here to see what the big fuss is about. You may experience busy server error, but if you come back to it a few minutes later, it should be gone. So if you see that, don't panic. Let's go through the stuff from up here. We have the button to make a new chat. I've made an old one down here. So when you want to have a discussion that's completely different from this topic, you just make a new chat and you're going to have a list right here. You can rename a chat or delete it permanently. We can also get the app as we saw, but I'm going to focus on the web interface for this course. There is your profile. You get to look at your settings, delete every chat, change your password, and etc. You can collapse this sidebar so that you have more space to chat. So right here is when you put in your question, your prompts. In terms of what you can ask anything. And depending on which of these you choose, it's going to provide you a solution using different sources. So there's 3 options. We have the R1, DeepThink. We have the search. And then when the searching the web, and it will provide you with the sources. I'll get into that in a second. And when you have both of them unselected, it's going to use a more general method to answer your question. So if I ask it, like, what's the weather like in London, like the example we had here. Let's go over here, actually. This is a previous chat that I had. I asked it 4 times, and the last time I got the server error, but in the beginning, I asked it without selecting any of these 2. So you can see that this is all it gives me. It did not give me an exact temperature, didn't give me a source. It just told me generally that I should look into these platforms to get a more accurate forecast. But when I added this option for it to search the web, which is 2 out of 4, I got 38 results looked at before it gave me a full answer. So it's giving me a date, which is today's date, the temperatures, it's giving me chance of rain and all that stuff. And these little numbers are actually your sources. So if you hover over them, you're going to look at the website that it got this particular information from. It's kind of like a research paper where you would source that information as an in-text citation. Just has the numbers. When you go down, it summarized the details for me, the main things I need to know, additional context, and all that stuff. If I want to see where it got this information from to make sure it's accurate, I can click on the 38 results, and on this sidebar I would basically have a works cited page, or just a list of all the sources DeepSeek used to give me this particular information. If at any point I saw that one of these is not accurate, I could just go into them, look into the information, and just disregard that information from this particular website. These numbers that you see on the top right are where they're referenced. So Weather Online UK is number 22. If I find something with 22 on it, which we don't, that's where it got that information. But if you go to, say, number 2, or 1 actually, 1 has been used a lot. So we got 1 here, 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 here. I want to see why it's taking that much information. It's because it's giving the most straightforward answer. I can decide if I believe in this, if I find this reliable, and then go about my day. So that's with the web. It basically does the research for you. The next method was with the R1. So I put in the same prompt, but added a additional line and used the DeepThink. So this is where it goes through a thought process or a chain of thoughts. First, it's analyzing the question. So you can see it kind of talks to itself. It's like, okay, the user is asking about the weather. Let me think about how to approach this. Same way you would approach a problem, DeepSeek is doing the same. And it's just showing you how it's doing that. So for example, here, it reached a decision to start by mentioning that detailed forecasts aren't reliable. And then it's like, alternatively, I can do this. Wait, there's this. So first I should do this, but maybe this. And it's a really interesting way to see how it goes about giving you that solution. So a pretty long thought process. We go all the way down. The white text is kind of the conclusion out of all that thinking. So we got the temperatures listed, rainfall, daylight, and everything else. Gives me keynotes as well. So that's the DeepThink capability. You can also combine the two. So if I were to click on this and then do both of these things, let me stop that. Send the same prompt. It's going to not only think about your prompt, but also look through the internet at the same time. So we have both of these options available to us. Let's see what it comes comes out with. We have 48 results, and now it's beginning to think. Okay, so it stopped thinking now and it's giving us full answers. Notice this time we have the numbers because we enabled the web search. And up here I can look at the 48 websites it looked at. Now, depending on what kind of prompt you feed it, the sources may differ. So because I asked about the weather, obviously it's going to be more weather-related sources. If I ask it about something pop culture, it's going to look into that. So there isn't like a strict set of sources it's going to look at each time. All right, and that is what it looks like. Again, I can click on any of these, go into the website, look at it myself, double check the information if I need to, and just go about my day. So those are the prompt capabilities. We also have the option to attach information. For example, I've written a formula on my notebook and I wanted to help me solve it because as we saw, it did have a category for math. So what we're going to do is just upload this. I'm going to have to make a new chat and just disable search because we wanted to look at our inputs for the solution and not the internet. Just enable R1, disable that, and you have the option to now upload stuff. So I'm going to upload a picture with a math problem, then we can see how it goes about solving that. Okay, so I uploaded a screenshot of a calculus problem with limits, something rather simple, and then I'm gonna put in a physics problem where it's going to ask for different things in one problem. So this is pretty straightforward, so let's type in find the limit if it exists. Alright, with the deep think, with the reasoning enabled. So here it's interesting, it's concluding that the limit is negative infinity, but it's asking a question, and then it remembers something. I should check another method. It's doing some calculations here. And then it's just going through different ways of solving this. So if you're struggling with any sort of equation solving, even if this is a coding problem, this is a great way to not only get the correct answer, but see why that is the correct answer. So it kind of helps as a tutor as well, and it's pretty cool. There's our conclusion. So we're comparing the degrees, we're finding the leading terms, manipulating the formula, and doing the substitution. Each of these steps is crucial, and then we have the final answer. So that was a math problem, and you can see that it renamed this because it figured out this is what we're talking about. Let's do a more complicated physics problem. By complicated, I just mean that there's one problem. Then we have parts A, B, C, D, and D. Let's see if it can figure out those parts and give us the correct answer for each of them. So there it is. This time I'm not going to say anything because I wanted to read the problem itself. And these are the problems. This was the limit problem. This is all that I fed into it, and we just added the find a limit if it exists prompt. This is the physics problem. Rather simple, but it has different parts from A to F, and we just want to see if it recognizes these highlighted components and how it's going to give us an answer for all of these parts. So now I'm getting that server is busy error. I'm going to wait a few seconds and then hit regenerate, and then we can hopefully get an answer. So it's now looking into solving the physics problem. It's noticing all the numbers, the kilometers, the positive y direction, and all the information that was in the screenshot. So it's capable of reading all the information. Even if it's handwritten notes, as long as it's clear in the picture, it will find a way to read that question and solve it. So it's incorporating the cosine rule here, and it's telling us what the cosine rule is. Then we have some formulas, some calculations during its thought process. And this is before it does the final calculation. So it's just telling us how it's going to do the concluding calculations. So it's even accounting for confusion, which is very accurate. So as you can see, this one did take a long time for it to figure out. It's still thinking about how to approach this problem. And then all the way down here, it actually starts solving it. But it does provide an answer for parts A through F. And they're pretty good. So it did account for the formulas. It accounted for the angles. And over here, it's giving me some pretty good description. At some point, it did admit to being a little confused. Try to find that. There we go. So wait, but this is confusing because if you imagine the two vectors, etc. So kind of struggled near the end, but it figured it out. And this is just an example of how the DeepSeek model works. And if I were to do the same problem without this model, it's going to be a little bit different. So let's try the physics problem again. I'm gonna upload it. And now, as you can see, I have nothing selected. This will not work with the web search, so that's why it's grayed out. So let's try running this and compare the different answers. So as you can see, there's no thinking, and it just gets straight into calculations. Go part A, part B, using the same formula. And if we try to compare the answers, let's see, part C should be 26.6. It's the same answer. And there is the last part. And then we just get a summary. So it really depends on what type of problems you're solving. If you kind of want to get, for this case, tutored, you can go for the DeepSeek model. And these information, while they do seem a lot, they can actually help you understand how to solve this type of problems. So that's how the prompting works. These were just some examples of how to use the R1 model, the web search model, and the general model. Now let's go into some other aspects of DeepSeek and how we can best use it for different scenarios. Now we're going to get into content creation using DeepSeek. We can use this tool to help us build better scripts, more engaging content, and have it improve things that we've already done, in addition to feeding it certain links, certain profiles, so that it's more tailored to what we're looking for. So the first thing I'm going to go over is social media posts. We're going to start with YouTube scriptwriting, then move on to articles, Instagram posts, and other stuff. You can use the same technique for anything else, whether you want to use for X, Facebook, any platform works. It's just the way you structure your prompts that will alter the result. I have here a new chat, and I'm simply going to ask it, first of all, what makes a good YouTube video? Based off of that, I'm going to have it reference its own response and then give me a script for a specific topic. So let's begin with a regular search. I'm not selecting any of these two. Tell me what makes a good YouTube video script and break them down into sections. So I'm giving it a command. It's really important that you use words like tell me, break it down to sections, instead of saying something general like what is a good YouTube video, because it may just give you a small paragraph and not really help you out. So this part is what I'm going to use from its response to have it reference back to. Let's hit send, and see what we get. Okay, so it finished answering. As you can see, it numbered each section and it told me how long it should be. If I were to write my own script without the help of DeepSeek, I can reference this, know that I need to keep my hook for 15 seconds, alter my sentences and all that stuff. It's providing examples, but so far it's a very general format for a YouTube video. But now what I wanted to do is to give me this exact format that it just told me and incorporate my idea. So say I want to make a video for top 10 small towns in Europe that you should visit this summer. I'm going to structure my prompt like this. So this statement alone is going to do that for me. I could add in additional information such as my audience, my language, how I want my video to sound, if I want it to be a little funny, I want it to be really serious. This is where you make those changes. So I'm gonna just hit Shift Enter to go to the other lines. Keep these points in mind when giving me the script. Colon can go bullet points. My audience are mostly, let's say, 30 to 40-year-olds and based in Canada, let's say. Second point, I want my language and tone to be a little funny, but not full comedian. Lastly, I want, what else can we add in there? I want my video to be uplifting with some motivational quotes in between the sections. And you can just continue adding on, but I'm just going to leave it here. So it's going to reference this top part and add these information on top. So let's hit enter and see what we get. So there is my script. Let's go all the way to the top. My title has been bolded. We have the hook line. Notice how it's following that same structure from above. So up to 15 seconds, and it actually wrote me some pretty good stuff. It's giving us cues on the music and the visuals. We got everything we need essentially. Main content, and let me see how long this video is. So this video is supposedly 11 minutes. If I want it to be shorter or longer, I simply need to again reference to the previous response and add that change. So let's put shorten the video script. You wrote above by say 5 minutes, but keep all of its core materials and the points I gave you previously. So just like you would be talking to a person, just imagine it that way. Let's take a look. So it cut down the hook by 5 seconds, and it's doing the same thing for the other sections. But notice how there's some things over there. It's very uplifting language. And it even found the towns for me. We got Colmar, France. Let's see, some other towns. If I wanted to use a specific source, I could do that. Maybe I could feed it a New York Times article and have it base all the information from that. So there's so much you can do here. Let's actually look into that. I'm gonna go search the same thing, my title on the internet. And paste it onto Google, and we got an article by Forbes, first thing that shows up. Now let's copy this link and have it use the information from that. use the information in this link for the towns. Put your link. Keep the video duration, style, and other points I gave you, but change one thing. Use the information in this link for the towns and replace those parts in the script above. So while that's happening, let's take a look at what's in here. We got something from the Czech Republic, Portugal, Italy, and Austria. Let's see if it follows that. So there is the Austria one. We got Rwanda, Spain. I guess it's changing the order. We can ask it to have a similar order, but rain, Norway, rain, Norway. So it's changing it up a bit, which ideally you would want. And there we go. So say you want to create a content based on a topic. You already have an article written maybe on Medium, but you just want to turn that into a quick video. We can do that as well. So what I'm going to do is find a full written article and just switch that into video format. So here we got an article. It's a full written thing. There's points in here. If I want to turn this into a YouTube video, but don't want to go through all the writing process, trying to keep in mind the hook seconds, the different sections that we looked at earlier, I could simply, again, copy this link and ask DeepSeek to turn it into a video. And then we can put it on our YouTube channel with a lot of time saved. Turn this article into an engaging YouTube video. So there it is. And one more thing that you can do if you have a YouTube channel already and you want these scripts to be following that style is to reference the YouTube channel itself. So Skilladamia does have a YouTube channel. Say I want to make sure that everything is consistent. I want my new script to follow the style I have here, the type of language we've been using, and all of that, and just translate that into a YouTube video script. So let's copy this right here, turn this article into an engaging YouTube video following this existing YouTube channel's style. So very simple way of prompting. Actually forgot to mention that it needs to follow the same script. Follow the script style above, keeping the points I mentioned as well. Okay, let's see what we get. And there is our new script using the YouTube channel and that article. It's going to tailor the language similar to the other previously posted videos. So if you already have a YouTube channel, this is a great way to keep things consistent. And if you look at the main content, you can see that it matches the article. All right. So that is a great way to write a YouTube script. You can also use specific terms to make your videos a certain way, such as if you want it to be strictly comedic, you can put in those words. Decide what age range or what type of audience you want the script for, how long you want it to be, if there's a reference you want DeepSeek to look at. Just enter it the same way that we did for this article. So that's for YouTube. And if you already have a channel and say you just started, you're not sure why you're not getting that many views or that many likes, you can paste the link in DeepSeek and ask it to analyze it and give you some suggestions as to what you can do. Maybe it will tell you to post more often, make better thumbnails, and maybe other stuff. But just this whole habit of feeding it links is the best way to tailor the outcomes. So that was for YouTube. Let's go on to different types of content, such as perhaps a graphical content. And that would be something we'd want to post on perhaps Instagram or Facebook. We're going to look at how to create those stuff, prepare in advance so that we have our posts ready to go, and we simply just need to schedule them.
Congratulations on completing this DeepSeek Essentials tutorial. You have taken the first step into the fascinating world of new-gen AI. If you would like to dive deeper, check out our full course in the description. You will learn advanced prompting strategies and creative ways to use DeepSeek for different tasks. We will cover everything from content creation and SEO-optimized captions to productivity strategies, AI tutoring, and programming. By the end of this course, you will have the confidence to tackle complex projects and the expertise to leverage AI for any challenge you face. Thank you for watching and happy prompting!